we keep trying to make ourselves better, to fix things in us. But the only thing to fix is isolation. We were never meant to do it alone. Everything makes sense when we become only a part of it.
Thanks for watching. I will show you how you can color grade your footage using the already available resources inside DaVinci Resolve. So, starting from scratches, I work on a 4K timeline even when I shoot in Full HD. And since I have a Mac, under Output Color Space, I selected Rec 709A, while under 3D LUT interpolation, I chose tetrahedral, because it's a more complex method. First, we will have to transform our image in something that resembles a film scan. So, under Color Space Transform, you can find it in the effects, I chose as input color space Arri White Gamut 3, and under input gamma Arri Log C3. My camera is not an Arri, it's a Kine Infinity, but the color science is somewhat similar, and it works for me. You have to choose your own camera profile. Under Output Color Space, I selected Rec 709, under Output Gamma, Cineon Film Log. After this, I chose a film profile to mimic the film stock that I most like. So, 250D. So this is now what the scan would look like. After this, in the lab, they would do interventions on the scan before printing. But in DaVinci, it works better if we put the printing just right after and we do the changes before those two LUTs. So, right after, I created another node, calling it Film Look, and selected Kodak D55. As you can see, the image starts to gain some contrast and a little bit of saturation. We will adjust it by adding more saturation, changing the exposure, and white balancing before those nodes, before the LUTs, because we want to feed the LUTs something that is prepared for them. So here, under density, I increase the saturation, not by simply sliding the saturation wheel. I used another method, one that is less destructive of the footage. So under color space, I selected hue saturation value, and under channels, I deselected the first and the third, leaving just the second on. Then I moved the gamma. The saturation that you can obtain here is cleaner. Under exposure, I increased the offset. Not only that, but also the gain, because by sliding that, you act like if you were to increase the ISO of the image. And I usually underexpose my image to preserve highlights. My camera can handle that. So, it's time for the white balance. Here we have two ways. You can simply slide the temperature and tint, or you can use a different method, a technique that allows you to move a single wheel and affect both the temperature and the tint of the entire image on a larger spectrum. So, under gamma, I selected linear and moved the slide. As you can see, tonalities change fast. Let me get back to where I was. In order for the slide to be less sensible, I reduced the key output to half. After this, I adjusted the contrast by moving this wheel and the pivot. I like my image to have a bit of crushed midtones, because in this way they gain even more density and resemble more closely the film look. Then I moved the black point, and I did this from the log wheels, because this way I just lower the toe of the image. It doesn't drag midtones and highlights down. Now it's time to introduce the magic mask. Under AI Magic Mask, I added a few points and selected Better. Then I asked DaVinci to track the subject. It did a good job, but it tended to lose this part of the image. So I did this frame by frame, by selecting the brush and inserting what was missing. I added an alpha channel as a corrective node to introduce changes without intervening directly on the Magic Mask node. And I linked those two channels. I increased the gain and decreased the gamma to have it stand out more. Now, as you can see, we have some noise here. So, as a first node, I always put the noise. Under Special Noise Reduction, I unlinked Lumen Chroma. I put 8 as value, just to reduce color pollution, and it does a pretty good job. The image now is cleaner. After this, I added some film grain to give back texture to the image. You can find it here under the effects, film grain. These are my favorite values, but you can try out different settings to see what you like most. Now some sharpening, just before the film grain. The kind of sharpening I like is one that only affects luminance. So under color space you select Lab, CIE. Under channels you deselect the second and the third, leaving just the first active, so it will only touch the luminance, and under blur you decrease the radius by a couple of points. Now final retouches. Under grade I simply move the color wheel in the gamma to diminish the slight bluish temperature that was introduced with the white balance. What instead I like to be a bit cooler is the greens, to better mimic the greens that I find in film stock. So under hue versus hue, I just selected a few points in the green area and lowered the hue by 9 points almost, so that the greens now have a cooler temperature and better contrast with the warmer greens that are inside the image. There is a bit more color separation now. I also tried to correct the skin a bit. I did this again from the curves, this time just decreasing the saturation a bit and increasing the luminance to have the skin stand out. You can do this more precisely from the color warper, but for now this will be enough. My image is still a bit too contrasting for my eye, so I decreased the highlights from the log wheels by reducing this value by 0.33. As you can see, it's quite intense as a change, but I like my image to sit between 850 IRE and a bit above 0. Film look is compressed, it's dense. I could use the glow, but here the lens already glows the image enough. So it's time for the very last touches, and if you like me are a bit obsessive, this would be correcting the bluish tint that affects Boira, the dog. She gets the reflection of the environment, which is mostly green, on her white fur. So I created another magic mask, and this time I placed it after the LUTs, because I just want to affect saturation, not the exposure curves. I select better, add a few points, track it forward and backwards. Then again, I add an alpha channel. The correction here was decreasing the saturation until 30. And now Boira is a bit cleaner, has less tint. So guys, this is it. I'm really happy with the result, considering it only used already available resources inside the software. In the future, I will also release my own LUT and power grade. Let me know in the comments what you think, or if you have any questions. Also, I have a cold, and this plus my Italian accent, I hope everything was comprehensible nonetheless. I did my best. Take care and see you soon.